The discovery, the asteroid belt around Kepler 442, had been yielding steady profits for 3 years. But today felt different. Captain Elena Vasquez stood on the observation deck of mining station Meridian 7, watching the automated work their way through the rocky debris. The morning shift had reported unusual mineral compositions in Sector 7, and something about the readings made her uneasy. "Captain, you need to see this." Dr. Marcus Chin's voice crackled through the communication system. As the station's lead xenobiologist, Marcus rarely sounded excited, but today his voice carried an edge of barely contained amazement. Alina made her way to the research lab, passing through the bustling corridors of the station. Meridian 7 housed nearly 800 humans, making it one of the larger deep space operations. The station rotated slowly, creating artificial gravity that kept everyone grounded and focused on their work. Workers moved with purpose, their conversations mixing English, Spanish, and Mandarin as they discussed extraction quotas and equipment maintenance. In the lab, Marcus was hunched over a holographic display showing a 3-dimensional model of something that definitely wasn't a normal asteroid. The object was perfectly spherical, about the size of a small building, with intricate patterns carved into its surface. Even through the hologram, Alina could see that the patterns seemed to shift and change as she watched them. This was buried deep in asteroid KP7741, Marcus explained, his hands gesturing excitedly at the display. The extractors found it by accident when they were going after a titanium deposit. "Alina, this isn't natural. Someone made this thing. And based on the mineral analysis, it's been here for at least 10,000 years." Alina studied the artifact carefully. The patterns weren't random decorations, they looked like some kind of writing or mathematical formulas. "Have you seen anything like this before?" Marcus shook his head. "Nothing in any human database, but I've sent the images to Crystal. If anyone would recognize this, it would be him." Crystal was a Vorthan trader who had been doing business with human stations for over a decade. The Vorthans were one of the few alien species that humans had regular contact with, and they were known for their extensive knowledge of galactic history. If this artifact was significant, Crystal would know. As if summoned by their conversation, the communication system buzzed with an incoming message. The main screen flickered to life, showing the familiar blue-scaled face of Crystal. His large dark eyes were wider than usual, and his normally calm demeanor seemed shaken. Captain Vasquez, Crystal's voice, carried an urgency that Alina had never heard before. "You must stop all excavation immediately. What you have found is not meant for mining operations." Alina felt a chill run down her spine. "What exactly are we dealing with, Crystal?" The Vorthan trader was quiet for a moment, his scaled hands visible as he made gestures that Alina recognized as signs of deep respect or fear. "The patterns you have shown me are from the precursor civilization. They were the first to achieve true galactic unity, long before any of our current species developed space travel. Their artifacts are considered sacred by all civilized worlds." Before Alina could respond, the station's alarm system began blaring. The emergency lights bathed the lab in red, and the automated voice announced a priority alert. "Unknown vessels. Approaching. All personnel to emergency stations." Alina rushed to the command center, Marcus close behind her. The main tactical display showed 6 large ships approaching from multiple directions. The vessels were sleek and aggressive-looking, painted in the deep red and black colors that Alina recognized with growing dread. "Draconians," she whispered. The Draconian Empire was known throughout this sector as aggressive and militaristic. They rarely bothered with human operations, considering them too small and insignificant to worry about. But something had changed, and Alina suspected it had to do with the artifact they had just discovered. Communications Officer Sarah Kim looked up from her station. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission from the lead ship. It's in Standard Galactic, but the tone is definitely hostile." "Put it through," Alina ordered. The main screen filled with the image of a draconian commander. He was tall and imposing, with the characteristic reptilian features of his species. His scales were a deep emerald green, and his eyes glowed with an inner fire. Military decorations covered his armored chest, indicating high rank and considerable combat experience. "Human station," the commander's voice was deep and threatening. "I am Commander Thane Korath of the Draconian Imperial Fleet. You have disturbed something that belongs to the Empire. Surrender the artifact immediately or face the consequences." Alina stepped forward, trying to project confidence despite the fear growing in her chest. "Commander Korath, this is Captain Alina Vasquez of Mining Station, Meridian 7. The artifact was discovered in legally claimed human territory. We're operating under standard galactic mining rights." Korath's laugh was cold and harsh. "Human mining rights mean nothing when Imperial interests are involved. You have 1 hour to prepare the artifact for transfer. Any resistance will be met with overwhelming force." The transmission ended, leaving the command center in tense silence. Alina looked round at her crew, seeing the same fear and determination in their eyes that she felt in her heart. 800 humans against 6 draconian warships was not a battle they could win through conventional means. "Options?" Alina asked her senior staff. Chief Engineer Rodriguez spoke up first. "We could try to power up the mining lasers, but they're not designed for ship-to-ship combat. Against draconian shields, they'd be useless." "What about evacuation?" asked Dr. Chen. "The escape pods can't carry everyone, and the draconians would just pick us off one by one," replied Navigation Officer. Alina was about to order a desperate defense when something unexpected happened. Dr. Chen's research console began flashing with urgent alerts. The artifact they had discovered was activating, its ancient patterns glowing brighter and brighter. "Captain," Chen called out, his voice filled with amazement. "The artifact is broadcasting something. It's a signal, but it's not like any communication technology I've ever seen. It's beautiful." The signal wasn't just electromagnetic waves. It seemed to touch something deeper, resonating through dimensions that human science barely understood. Alina felt it in her bones, a warm, protective presence that seemed to say everything would be all right. Across the galaxy, alien civilizations felt the signal to. On the Vorthan homeworld, ancient monitoring systems that had been silent for millennia suddenly came to life. In the halls of the Galactic Council, emergency sessions were called as representatives from dozens of species received the same impossible message. On Meridian 7, the tactical display began showing new contacts. Ships were appearing from hyperspace, not just 1 or 2, but dozens of them. Alina watched in amazement as vessels from species she had never seen before materialized. Around the station, Captain, Communications Officer Kim reported, her voice shaking with disbelief. "I'm receiving priority transmissions from Altarian, Zenthran, and Crystalline fleets. They're all demanding safe passage to our coordinates." Commander Korath's face reappeared on the screen, but his earlier confidence was gone. "Human Captain, what have you done? Half the galaxy is mobilizing toward your position." Before Alina could answer, Another voice cut through the communication channel. It was Crystal, but he was no longer speaking as a simple trader. His voice carried the authority of someone speaking for an entire civilization. Commander Korath, you will withdraw your forces immediately. The humans are under the protection of the ancient accords. Any act of aggression against them will be considered an act of war against all signatory species. The ancient accords. Korath's voice was barely a whisper. But those are just legends. They are not legends, Crystal replied firmly. They are the foundation of all galactic law, and you have just threatened a species that stands under their highest protection. Alina watched as the draconian ships began to withdraw, their aggressive formations breaking apart as they retreated to a safe distance. Around the station, alien fleets from across the galaxy continued to arrive, forming a protective barrier that no force would dare to challenge. Captain Vasquez, Crystal's voice was now gentle, almost reverent. There is much you do not understand about your species' place in the galaxy. What you have discovered today is not just an artifact. It is a key that unlocks truths that have been hidden for thousands of years. Alina looked around the command center at her crew. They were just miners and scientists, ordinary humans trying to make a living in the vastness of space. But somehow, they had become the center of a galactic event that would change everything. What makes us so special? Alina asked. Crystal's expression softened. That, Captain, is a story that begins with the very foundations of galactic civilization. And it is a story that the galaxy has been waiting to tell you for a very long time. As the ancient artifact continued to pulse with mysterious energy, Alina Vasquez realized that her quiet mining station had just become the most important place in the galaxy. The discovery would change not just their lives, but the destiny of humanity itself. The truth about why humans were untouchable was about to be revealed, and it would shake the very foundations of everything they thought they knew about their place among the stars. Asterisk. The ancient truth 3 weeks after the incident. At Meridian 7, Captain Alina Vasquez found herself in a place she had never imagined visiting. The Galactic Council chambers on Nexus Prime were massive, with seats arranged in concentric circles to accommodate hundreds of different alien species. The air itself was filtered and adjusted to support dozens of different atmospheric requirements, creating a slight shimmer that made everything look ethereal. Alina sat in the newly installed human section, feeling small among the representatives of civilizations that had been traveling the stars for millennia. Beside her, Dr. Marcus Chen was frantically taking notes on everything he observed, while Admiral Sarah Thompson, who had arrived from Earth just 2 days ago, maintained the composed demeanor expected of humanity's highest-ranking military officer. "Still can't believe we're here," Marcus whispered, his eyes wide as he watched a delegation of gaseous beings communicate through controlled lightning displays. Admiral Thompson leaned forward slightly. "According to the briefing materials, this is the first time in 300 years that the full council has convened for an emergency session. And it's all because of what we found in that asteroid." The artifact from Meridian 7 now rested in a special chamber at the center of the council hall. It had been transported here with more ceremony and protection than Alina had ever seen given to any object. Alien species that had been at war for centuries had declared temporary truces just to ensure its safe passage. A deep, resonant tone filled the chamber, and all conversation ceased. From the highest tier of seats, a figure began to descend. Alina had been told to expect this, but seeing Elder Zephyr in person was still breathtaking. The ethereal was ancient beyond human comprehension, its form shifting between solid matter and pure energy. When it spoke, its voice seemed to come from everywhere at once. Beings of the galaxy, Zephyr's voice carried the weight of eons. We gather today to reveal a truth that has been hidden for 10,000 years. The humans have awakened something that was meant to remain dormant until they were ready to understand their true purpose. Alina felt a chill run down her spine. Around the chamber, representatives from hundreds of species watched with rapt attention. Some looked curious, others fearful, and a few seemed to already know what was coming. The artifact you see before you, Zephyr continued, is a quantum lock created by the precursor civilization. They were the first to achieve true galactic unity, and before their transcendence to a higher plane of existence, they left behind a gift for future generations. The chamber filled with a soft, musical hum as the artifact began to glow more brightly. Holographic displays appeared throughout the room, showing images of the galaxy as it had been thousands of years ago. Alina watched in fascination as the displays showed a time when space was filled with chaos and constant warfare. The precursors studied every emerging species, Zephyr explained. They looked for those with the potential to bring the galaxy together, to heal the wounds of endless conflict. Most species, they observed, showed promise in specific areas. The Vorthans excelled at trade and diplomacy. The crystallines mastered technology and science. The Zenthrons became guardians of justice and law. Alina noticed that many of the alien representatives were nodding in agreement. These were apparently well-known facts about galactic history. But one species showed promise in all areas. Zephyr's voice grew warmer. A young species on a blue world in a distant arm of the galaxy. They called themselves humans. The chamber erupted in whispers and discussion. Alina looked around, seeing expressions of surprise, respect, and in some cases, skepticism. The precursors observed humans for centuries, Zephyr continued. They watched as your species overcame internal conflicts, reached beyond your world, and began to explore the stars. But more importantly, they saw something unique in human nature. Where other species excelled in specific areas, humans showed the ability to adapt, to learn, to grow in ways that transcended their original limitations. Dr. Chen leaned over to Alina. This is incredible. They've been watching us since before we even knew aliens existed. Admiral Thompson remained focused on the Elder. What exactly did they do with this knowledge? As if hearing the question, Zephyr raised what might have been an arm, and the artifact responded by projecting a new series of images. These showed complex mathematical formulas and quantum equations that hurt to look at directly. The precursors embedded protection into the very fabric of space-time, Zephyr explained. They created what you might call a quantum law, woven into the fundamental forces of the universe. Any species that attempts to destroy or enslave humans will find themselves facing not just military opposition, but reality itself working against them. Alina felt her breath catch. That's why the fleets came to help us. It wasn't just politics or alliances. It was like the universe itself was protecting us. Precisely, Zephyr confirmed. The protection is not just military, it extends to all aspects of human development. Your species has been guided and protected, allowed to grow and evolve naturally, while being shielded from threats that would have destroyed you before you were ready. A new voice spoke up from the chamber floor. Alina recognized Crystal, the Vorthan trader who had helped them during the crisis. Elder Zephyr, what about the humans who have been living among us? Are they also protected? Every human, everywhere, carries this protection, Zephyr replied. It is encoded into their very being, a gift from the precursors that cannot be removed or duplicated. It is why human colonies have prospered, why human traders are welcomed even in hostile territories, why human diplomats can negotiate where others fail. Alina thought about all the times she had wondered why humans seemed to do well in space, despite being one of the younger species. Now she understood. They had been protected all along, guided by ancient laws that even they didn't know existed. But why reveal this now? Admiral Thompson asked. Why not continue to let it remain hidden? Zephyr's form shifted, becoming more solid and focused, because the time for protection has passed. The precursors designed their gift to last only until humanity was ready to stand on its own. The activation of the artifact signals that this time has come. The chamber fell silent. Alina felt the weight of the Elder's words settling over everyone present. They were no longer under protection. They were being recognized as equals, but that meant they would have to earn their place in the galaxy through their own efforts. What happens now? Alina asked, standing up despite her nervousness. Now, Zephyr said, humanity takes its place. As a full member of the galactic community, the protection remains, but it is no longer absolute. You will succeed or fail based on your own choices, your own wisdom, your own strength. A new figure approached the center of the chamber. Alina recognized her as Nixara, a quantum-sensitive alien historian who had been studying the artifact. Her species could perceive dimensions that others couldn't, making them valuable interpreters of precursor technology, the quantum patterns. Within the artifact reveal more than just protection, Nixara announced. They show potential futures, paths that humanity might take. In most timelines, humans become leaders in galactic unity, bridge builders between species that have been enemies for millennia. Alina felt a surge of pride mixed with responsibility, and in the others, Nixara's expression grew somber. In the darker timelines, humanity turns inward, becomes isolated and suspicious. The gift of the precursors becomes a burden, and the galaxy suffers for it. Elder Zephyr moved closer to the human delegation. This is why the truth is being revealed now. The galaxy needs leaders who understand that true strength comes not from power, but from the ability to bring others together. The precursors saw this potential in humanity, and now it is time for you to fulfill it. Alina looked around the chamber, seeing hundreds of alien species watching her and her fellow humans with a mixture of hope and expectation. The weight of responsibility was enormous, but so was the opportunity. What do we need to do? She asked. Be yourselves, Zephyr replied simply. The precursors chose humanity not because of any special power or advanced technology, but because of your ability to grow, to adapt, to find common ground with others. Trust in that ability, and the galaxy will follow. As the session concluded, Alina found herself thinking about the mining station where all this had begun. Her crew of 800 humans had just been doing their jobs, working together to extract resources from dead rocks in space. They hadn't been trying to change the galaxy or fulfill ancient prophecies. They had simply been human. Dr. Chen came up beside her as they prepared to leave. Do you think we're ready for this? Alina looked back at the artifact, still glowing softly in its chamber. I think that's the point. We've been ready all along. We just didn't know it. Admiral Thompson joined them, her expression thoughtful. The real test will be what we do with this knowledge. The galaxy is watching us now, expecting us to live up to the precursors' faith in us. As they walked through the corridors of the Galactic Council, Alina reflected on how much had changed since that morning when they had first discovered the artifact. They had learned that humans were not just another species struggling to survive in a hostile universe. They were inheritors of an ancient legacy, chosen by beings of unimaginable wisdom to help heal the wounds of galactic civilization. The protection was still there, woven into the very fabric of reality, but it was no longer a shield to hide behind. It was a foundation to build upon, a reminder that humanity's true strength lay not in their weapons or their technology, but in their ability to bring others together, to find hope in the darkest situations, and to never give up on the possibility of a better future. Elena Boskers, a mining station captain who had never expected to change the galaxy, now found herself at the center of a new chapter in galactic history. The age of human isolation was over. The age of human leadership was about to begin, and somewhere in the quantum foam of space-time, the ancient protections put in place by the precursors hummed with approval, knowing that their faith in humanity had been justified. Asterisk.